Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is approach anxiety, and I'm going to start off with drawing a picture. I've just drawn a circle on the board. The circle represents what some people might call the comfort zone. Essentially, the border of the comfort zone is our ability. It's what we're comfortable with doing, but beyond the limit of that, we're not comfortable. So anything that we're comfortable with is inside that border, and anything we're uncomfortable with is outside that border. And that generally comes down to our current skill level, which is here, the border. Outside of the border often lies, and we're going to demonstrate this as another circle, our desires. So we want to achieve these things. But the trouble is, there's a gap between where we're at and where we want to be that requires us to push outside of our comfort zone to achieve something that we can't yet do. So we've got this point here, which is our current ability, and this line here could represent our want or desire. Now, in a lot of cases, suppose, for example, you want a certain job, but you don't like public speaking, and you learn that you are going to have to speak publicly to do a certain job, it's very likely that that want of having that job will just disappear. The reason for that is we haven't got a public speaking drive within ourselves. However, we do have, as heterosexual men, a drive to sleep with females. We've got a sex drive. So this is a wanting that isn't going to go away. As long as we're healthy hormonally, and if we're heterosexual, we're going to have this drive to sleep with females. And most men, not all men, some men will start off very confident, maybe they were extremely popular at school, but most men, when they move into adulthood, will find that what they want and their current ability level are two different things. There's very few men who are confident to approach every attractive woman that they see. That's very unusual. So what we need to do is to learn how we can move outside of our comfort zone to jump to our want, which is to approach the attractive females. Obviously, approaching them doesn't guarantee that you're actually going to pull them, but if you approach them, it at least gives you the chance to pull them. How we achieve that is through hard training, because this is how we would train anybody to overcome their fears. When you are in a state where you are able to think calmly, then you use the higher part of your brain, which is the part of our brain which makes us human. When you're in a state where you're scared and there's enough adrenaline in your system, that part of your brain starts to switch off, which is why when you're about to get into a fight, you'll find often that you're unable to string coherent sentences together and your sentence structure becomes much shorter. This is the higher part of your brain turning off and your midbrain turning on. A lot of people like to believe that in the heat of the moment, they are suddenly going to be able to do all of the things that they couldn't normally do, and that they're going to be able to step up in the heat of battle. They see the hot girl, they like to believe that because they've read all the stuff on the internet, they're going to be able to just suddenly pull it out of the bag and approach her and run perfect game. The truth of the matter is that's extremely unlikely. Their higher brain, which is able to think about what they're going to do, is switched off, and so this picture is now representing something else. This is going to be the higher brain here, and the midbrain is going to be here. The higher brain switches off, you move out of the higher brain mode into the midbrain mode. The midbrain works on conditioned responses. If you would like your behaviour to be a certain way when you're under stress and adrenaline is turned off your higher brain, you need to condition responses into your midbrain. This means you can't expect to make the decision to act bravely in the heat of the moment. You need to make the decision to act bravely when you are in training before the moment. If you make a decision to act bravely before the moment, that means that you can prepare your mind by giving yourself increasing amounts of pressure to train yourself to have the correct responses, so when suddenly, bang, you get an adrenaline rush, your midbrain takes over and does the right things. And that is when a soldier who is extremely terrified because he's being shot at for the first time will suddenly find that he has done all of the things he was trained to do and he's responded effectively to enemy fire. It's when a policeman who is attacked by a gang responds appropriately in the heat of the moment. It might be when a doctor who comes into a situation where somebody's about to lose their life for the first time unless they act correctly. If they're well trained, they act correctly and save the person's life. It's when a young man who wants to speak to a very attractive woman who actually makes him feel scared responds appropriately and approaches her when he was very scared to do so.